welcome back to the Play On Podcast Football Edition. In this part, we're going to talk about the Leinster Quarter Final, which took place last weekend between Kildare and Offaly, finishing in a Kildare victory by 1 goal and 15 points to Offaly's 13 points. Kildare now go on to play Westmeath in the Leinster Semi Final. It was an even enough start, 3 points apiece after 19 minutes, and Offaly did push Kildare at plenty of stages, but Kildare's, different level of class in my mind to an Offaly side made the difference. Neil Flynn was outstanding. Kevin Feely had a good performance. Mick O'Grady was excellent in defence. And seized them home, saw them over the line against, what was a good Offaly side, but, not good enough to beat Kildare. And now that's Offaly season over.
Yeah. Look, it was an interesting one, this, because 6-5 at half time, but it was a game that Offaly had largely dominated for the first half, and it was bizarre that they kind of went in 1 down at the break, and I suppose after that Kildare completely took over in the second half, and even though they finished with 13 after Jimmy Hyland getting the black card as well, they were full value for that win, and that second half performance was exactly what they needed, and they kind of overcame, we kind of talked about this before, that this could be a potential banana skin for Kildare, so they did everything they had to do, and they'd be delighted enough with how it went.
Yeah, definitely. There was a patch where they were vulnerable enough in the first half, Kildare. Keane Farrell's outside of the boot point made a 4-3 to Offaly, but there was a goal chance pretty soon after for Anton Sullivan. It looked like a bit of a third-man tackle, to be honest, on behalf of the Offaly forward, just kind of took the Kildare defender out of the way. Sullivan put the head down, ran through the space. He made the goal chance for himself, but then it was a very poor shot, well saved by Donlan. But, that could have been a bit of a momentum swinger for Offaly if that goal had gone in so early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the point, was that it was unbelievable that they weren't leading that at halftime, considering all those efforts and kind of the dominance they had around the middle as well, especially. So I say after that, kind of going in a point down due to a Mick O'Grady mark as well coming from the full back line. But it was that kind of marked the point that if Offaly wanted to overturn Kildare, they needed to have a lead going into this, especially at halftime. They really need to stretch ahead, and it kind of went kind of more as expected second half.
Yeah, and in the second half, there were a couple of minutes where, the nails were put in the coffin of Offaly's championship season. Jimmy Hyland showed his class, got a great point to make it 9-5. And then, of course, Paddy Dunnican was turned over on the halfway. Jimmy Hyland pointed. That made it 13 points to 8. And then the next kick out was broken down to Kildare. Neil Flynn managed to get his hands on the ball. Fantastic, powerful run by Neil Flynn, who was absolutely excellent and my man of the match. An outstanding run from him. And he ran all the way through, dummied past Paddy Dunnican and slotted it into the back of the net with his left foot. And I think from those couple of minutes, where Dunnican was clearly rattled by the fact that he'd lost the ball, in the middle of the pitch, a goalkeeper's worst nightmare when he's taking the ball out like that. And then, to concede the goal so soon after, I don't think Offaly ever really recovered from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And but from Offaly's perspective as well, though, you'd have to consider this year to be a success. I know that they hadn't really put up to them against Louth last week, where after extra time coming through. But you look at the league up to Division 2 next year, they're going to be testing themselves against the teams of Kildare's stature every single year. And look, overall, it has to be considered a success. And they just came up against a Kildare team that look pretty good this year. I think Jack O'Connor has them. He's kind of managed to get them playing to their potential now. And I think they'll be happy about it. And they'll be pretty confident going into the Westmeath game, the semi-final, of getting to another Leinster final.
Yeah, definitely. And if they get to that Leinster final, they're probably going to be playing against Dublin. And obviously we've talked about Dublin, that they didn't look the best. If Dublin don't, dramatically step up their performance, do you give Kildare a better chance of beating Dublin than you give Meath?
It's hard to know, because before the league, considering the league, you look at the two teams. Kildare beat Meath in the league. They look to be level above. They got promoted back to Division 1 and everything. But then, having said that, Meath at the weekend looked fantastic, and they absolutely put Longford to the sword, a Longford team that had looked pretty good in Division 3 as well. So it was, look, I think there's a lot of recency bias when you're looking at it. But yeah, I think if you look kind of at the Kildare team, like it's a very, very solid team. Like you've David Hyland centre half back, the midfield partnership of Aaron Masters and Kevin Feely's really, really good as well. And then you look at the forwards, Neil Flynn, Derek Kerwin, Jimmy Hyland up there. They're going to get scores too. So I would probably have Kildare still ahead of Meath as the closest challengers to Dublin. And if you're going to base it off the weekend, like there's no reason to suggest that Kildare can't get close enough to Dublin, albeit that I still can't see them being able to overturn them, especially in Croke Park.
Yeah, I think it would be, a step too far for Kildare this year. Jack O'Connor's definitely brought in a load of new players into the Kildare side. He's got rid of some of the old players that were in the team. It's going to take time to make this transition happen, obviously slowed down by the pandemic. Now he's getting a full run. They're a big, powerful running team. And I think that, in a few years, they might be able to, take advantage of all the good underage players which are coming through, the likes of Jimmy Hyland and that All-Ireland winning team. There definitely is a brilliant crop of players coming through there for Kildare. And I think under Jack O'Connor, a man who's won quite a few All-Irelands as Kerry manager, I think they have a good man to harness this potential that Kildare have. But yeah, guys, so looking forward to that semi-final against Westmeath. How do you think they're going into that game now? Obviously against the Westmeath side, which is battered Laois, which we'll get onto. But yeah, how do you see Kildare going into that game now? Do you see them going in as favourites?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're moving pretty well. They still have that league momentum as well. So yeah, I'd definitely consider them favourites going in. I know, yeah, the Westmeath result was particularly eye-catching the weekend, but yeah, I still can't look past Kildare, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Kildare are just a little bit ahead of Westmeath, especially a Westmeath team without Kieran Martin. But guys, that is our review of the Kildare versus Offaly game. We will come back and we will talk about that Westmeath versus Laois game.